Hey, good buddy.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Top of the morning to you, my friend.
Yeah, how's it going?
It's going fantastic. Oh, look at this. The screen switches when I start yapping. Is that what that
Yeah,
does? Oh,
it,
that's
it
nice.
does that.
Okay.
It switches back and forth.
Very nice. Well, Ben, it's great to meet you, my friend.
Hey, how are you? Yeah, what's going on?
Um, Thanks for joining us. And I guess kind of a question out of ignorance more than anything else. Give me an intro. Who are you? What do you do? What are your interests? And why? How could this be something symbiotic? I'd love to kind of get some of your feedback.
um, I'm a data geek. I've been working in data for since the late '90s, and I found my kind of excitement around electric cars in 2016.
Hmm.
And made a couple YouTube videos about it, and people seemed to like it, and so continued to make YouTube videos on it. And so now, in addition to a bunch of online courses where I teach people things like data analytics and programming and stuff like that, I have a YouTube channel where I talk about really my focus on YouTube is to try to help people um, spend their money wisely in terms of the environment. So you can do things often that are the confluence of helping the planet and your pocketbook. So an electric car is an obvious choice where it's good for the environment, and it's over however long you keep the car is going to save you money over compared to say a similarly priced gas car. So do that on YouTube each week, as well as, I have a whole business dedicated to helping people learn programming skills and things to advance their careers, whether it be just by using data or actually in the field of data.
I mean, yeah, EVs are obviously a direction that's an area of focus for us. But you've really piqued something in my mind about people have a lot sum of money they make. And however they make that is how they make it. And they choose to spend it however they like. But what you just triggered was this idea of how can we spend it to still live the lifestyle I want to lead, but to do it in a way that's both advantageous to me, to the environment around me, as well as being, for better or worse, altruistic. It's good for everybody. And
Right.
it's the country, the world, the humanity as it is. So, what other, and a vehicle is such a huge part of that, which we can chat about in a second, but you piqued my interest. Besides that, what are some of the major, maybe the top two or three major um, topics of a person's life do you have a significant impact on when it comes to the allocation of their resources?
Well, I really try to steer people towards, and it's not 100% for everyone, but solar is a great win for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Google has great thing called Project Sunroof, where you can actually go see, like in your area, exactly how well your home or your building would do with solar. And then, in addition to that, actually, like complementary and supplementary are home batteries. So Tesla makes these Tesla power walls. There are other companies that make similar things. You can DIY one actually pretty cheaply. So with all of that, like a home battery you could have without solar, and it actually provides an amazing benefit that a lot of people don't consider. And then solar, combined with solar, you have this kind of, it's funny, it tugs at my like American heartstrings of like independence and freedom, because it's like the other day, I mean, maybe a couple weeks ago, we had a power outage here, and I didn't even know. I literally had no clue. I went outside. I'm like, why are all the houses dark? Why aren't the street lights on? And so there's something about that independence and freedom that just gives me peace of mind with my family, which I think as a father of two and a husband and all that is kind of priceless. But also, if you run the numbers on it, it turns out it's going to save me over the lifespan of these products, which is 25 years for the solar panels, 10 years at least for the batteries. It's going to save me a good amount of money as well. So I think those are some of the things that maybe people wouldn't, angles that are like ways of looking at it that people wouldn't consider. And one that I've, myself put my own money up. Like I never really preach anything that I'm not practicing. Right. So, those are kind of the other probably top two things that somewhat universally apply.
You've again triggered my thoughts on this idea. What are the major pushbacks that you're getting on? And again, I know as EV pros, our focus is electric vehicles, but this idea of real pragmatics of life, people are faced with just energy consumption in their homes, and we want to lead a certain lifestyle. and we don't want to pay too much money. And our electric bills are, usually ranging anywhere from $70 to, well, I've got one client where their bill is over 10,000 a month because they live with the doors and windows open, and they want to live like a hotel.
Yeah.
So, but what is the pushback that you get or you hear from people, even though you may not be selling the solar per se or the battery packs? What is the pushback people give on that? I don't want it because.
Yeah, probably the number one, and I would say this is somewhat of a valid complaint, is either electricity where you live is super cheap. Like I have some friends in Texas, and because of all the oil and other forms of energy they have, it's just super cheap there. So you look at the payback period, and economically, yeah, like it's not as compelling of an argument as other parts of the country, like California, where I live, where electricity is super expensive. So the argument here from an economic standpoint is much, much greater. The battery is an interesting one where I don't think, and I've done several videos recently trying to bring this to light, but people don't really understand what the battery does for you. A lot of people think of it just as backup. And it definitely serves that purpose, and it serves it far better than, say, there's the competition to a battery is generators, and there's two kinds. You have the portable one you may have used camping or something like that you pump some gas in, whatever. Those totally suck and are cheap, and it's not like you can run your whole house on that. You can just run some basic electronics out of it. But then there are also, I would say, kind of compelling offers in that space called these natural gas backup power generators. And so those are installed like an appliance, like an AC unit, and they are, automatically kick on when the power goes out. They can power your whole home, and they have natural gas. So unless your natural gas line to your home, somehow runs out or breaks, it'll essentially run indefinitely. Those are, I would say, a compelling argument against the batteries. But the deal is that the batteries offer you so much more. So here where I live, we have a thing called time of use rates, pricing, TOU plans as they're called. And so with a battery, what you can do that you can't do with, say, a natural gas generator is I actually do what's called peak shaving. So the electricity rate from 4 to 9 p.m. in San Diego right now is somewhere, I think they just changed the rate. It's around 53 cents per kilowatt hour.
Wow,
which
significant.
Wow. It's 10 times more than my friends in Dallas pay.
I put that into real world money when it comes to let's just say, for example, someone a day in the life of someone living 8 hours and not being mindful of running their dishwasher, their washing machine, charging their car at night, but they're doing virtually everything, including the pool pump during the day. What does that equate to over a 6-hour period for somebody, do you think?
Well, again, yeah, there's a lot of variables there. But when I've been looking at the data, which is one of the fun things with Powerwall stuff, you get all this data on it. Your home can pull, let's say, just a normal hanging out, not a bunch of stuff running. And my house can pull around 0.6 to maybe 1 kilowatt per hour. So like literally the definition of 1 kilowatt hour. But if you're running all those other things, you could easily be pulling 7 to 10 kilowatt hours or kilowatts per hour. So multiply that times your 53 cents across 6 hours, and you're spending a lot of money. And if you had a home battery, this is what you can do is, other terms I've heard of is called rate arbitrage, where you just buy low and sell high. So forget solar. Let's say you have a home battery and nothing else. You can run your home on that battery and schedule it. So, and this is what we do here with 4 p.m. Hits at our house, which is kind of peak time, right? People coming home from work. Well, not now, but in a normal situation, people coming home from work, firing up dinner, kids on TV, air conditioning going, it's hot out, whatever, everything running full steam. Well, when that happens here at my home at 4 p.m., we flip everything over to the power walls, and we're running off the batteries entirely, which means we're not paying that 53 cents a kilowatt hour. And if the sun is still shining, which usually it is this time of year at that time, all of that solar energy is being sent back to the grid, and we're being credited at 53 cents a kilowatt hour. So then, that goes for 5 hours till 9 p.m. At 9 p.m., we're no longer on peak rates. We switch back off, and then the batteries can charge afterwards at a much cheaper rate. So we're, buying low and selling high, which is what you want to do. So imagine you don't even have solar panels. You just have a battery. You could essentially have this time of use pricing where the other part of it, 53 cents a kilowatt hour is during that peak time. Other times it's much cheaper than normal. So what that means is that the rest of the day when you're just using your home and whatever, you're actually paying less than average. And then because you can run your home off the battery during that peak time, you don't see any of the negative effects of that time of use pricing. So it's something where, yeah, like a gas generator can't really be designed to do that. I mean, maybe you could, kind of rig it up, but in general, it's not something that it's capable of. So batteries, I think, are tremendous. They are expensive. Like 2 power walls plus install is probably going to run you close to 15 grand, which is about the same price as a whole solar panel setup. So there's definitely an argument there from an energy standpoint, or I'm sorry, from an economic standpoint. But from the peace of mind that you get, from all the control you have over your energy and the fun things you can do with it, it's tremendous. I mean, so there's, I think, legitimate pushback where energy is super cheap, or maybe you're in, like, say, Seattle and the sun doesn't shine a lot, things like that. Um, Batteries, I think there is just so much that people don't understand about them. There is pushback, but when you look at it, you go, oh, well, yeah, these other things are kind of dumb toys compared to how sophisticated this piece of tech is and what it can do for me.
Yeah, and segueing from that into, say, an electric vehicle, which is now the engine, if you will, the power point for it is the battery pack itself.
Yeah.
What is some of the pushback? And I playing devil's advocate, that you've seen through the years of people's pushback on saying, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to make that step into that electric vehicle. What is that?
Yeah, I mean, I was playing golf with my buddy of mine, Derek, the other day, and we were talking about it, and his response is a common one. He said, we're in San Diego. He said, I can't just hop in a Tesla and drive to San Francisco.
Mm,
And I'm like, well, you can actually. He's like, yeah, but I'd have to stop and charge. I'm like, yeah, maybe 2 times in a modern, longer range one. So, yeah, maybe add an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to your trip tops. He's like, see, that's it. And then, that's a fair argument. I would say the Achilles heel of electric vehicles is long distance road trips. But the question is, how often are you doing that, and why are you doing that? Not to say that it's not a valid argument. I think it is a valid argument. I mean, I've done lots of road trips in Tesla, testing of things. It's not great. It compared to the convenience of a gas car.
right.
But if you're doing that on a regular basis, yeah, do not buy an electric vehicle for that. That's a dumb idea. But if you, if really going to San Francisco, chances are you're going to fly, first off, because it's like a 9-hour plus drive from here. It's not, I mean, it's 600 something miles or whatever. It's not like a place that you go often. And so you have to think about, what are your actual driving habits? Like, this is the supercharger argument, which is another one that people talk about, where they say, oh, there's not enough superchargers, I can't do it. And if you think about it, that's a dumb argument, because you charge 90% of the time at home. Like, I rarely use a supercharger. I don't even try to go to one. I used to work near one, and that would be, I'd use that one regularly, but I generally do not charge as a supercharger unless I'm on a road trip, in which case I'm in the middle of nowhere and there's nobody around. Like, very rarely am I at a supercharger in Gila Bend, Arizona, and it's packed. Never. Right. So there's, I think the argument about superchargers, or what I've heard, even Business Insider, which is, I mean, I guess, it's Business Insider, but like, they talk about the infrastructure for EVs isn't ready. And you look at it, you go, every home I know of has tons of charge ports available built in already. You can totally live on just a regular outlet charging your electric car. It won't be the best experience. It won't be the most efficient, but it certainly is doable. And so when you look at those things, those are some of the common arguments: road trips and supercharging access. But again, once you break it down and look at what are your driving habits, why are you doing that, and then charging, you're going to actually be charging at home the majority of the time. So why would you need a gazillion superchargers, So those are kind of the common ones. And yeah, when you really talk it through, they kind of fall apart.
Yeah, I noticed that it's a lifestyle change, right? Much like the solar and the battery and education. And obviously, when you add solar and battery into the mix of this, it becomes a no-brainer to have an electric vehicle, because you're essentially, it's like a 1, 2, 3 punch. And being able to sell your money back, your energy back at a higher rate, using what you use at a lower rate. Those things those tip the scales significantly. And yeah, range anxiety is a real thing, not because the charging ports aren't available because even though the Tesla superchargers may only be, I'm here in Orange County, California, and there's, I don't know, let's say half a dozen of them around here. Even still, you go on a ChargePoint app, you go on a third-party app, and there's literally, right now I'm in my office in Santa Ana, and there's probably 40 to 50 chargers within 3-mile radius of me. Mm-hmm. Now, I might pay a few dollars for that, but the point is that they're all there.
Yeah.
So are you seeing an uptick in either sales or usage, and to what significance is it, and what is that percentage of EV sales, and why?
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting argument. I haven't looked at the data recently since the shutdown of all the places. We saw, I believe, a decline in EV sales last year worldwide, which was mainly driven by China because their subsidies for the shorter range, smaller EVs faded out, and then those subsidies came back, and that's why Tesla adjusted their pricing so they could qualify for them. So I think we're going to see. I mean, right now in, what is this, officially a recession? I don't know, but like in a really down economy, I definitely could see people not wanting to buy just cars in general. I think in, the data, it's funny because I talk about China a lot in this scenario because they're just, in terms of the pandemic and recovery and all that, they're several months ahead of us. So it's kind of like looking into the future. I believe during the pandemic, auto sales in China were down something like 90%. Wow. So yeah, which makes sense. If you're locked at home, not going out, I mean, unless you absolutely have to have a car for some reason, sure, why are you going to go buy one? It doesn't really make sense. So my guess is that for the quarter, EV sales are going to be down a lot. Probably that's going to be enough to see a drop overall in the year. But if you exclude this bit, like if you were to look at the year over year and then subtract these months from all the years, chances are that we're still on an upswing. Now with the Tesla Model Y coming out, I think that appeals to a much broader audience than any of the other Tesla lineup. And I would say, I would talk about other EVs, but there aren't a ton that really excite me that are, I would say, mass market appeal. Like the Porsche Taycan, hell yeah, it's an amazing car. It's $250,000, right? But that's not something that I think people are rushing out to get right now. So EV sales right now for the year, I'm guessing are going to be down. They're obviously down these past few months. Since we've all been on lockdown, but the trend is the direction of it is still, I think, headed up.
Yeah, we've actually in the last 7 business days seen a significant uptick. There's been probably for probably because we're first out of the gate. Someone buys it or they're considering it. You've got all different personalities, right? That the individual who they often know everything about everything 6 months before they actually even make an offer on the car. Yeah. What's it going to cost? How can I charge it? Where's it going to be charged? And then you have those who bought the car yesterday on a whim and they can't even charge their car tonight. So we have both ends of the spectrum. But we saw, of course, a decrease immediately. I mean, right when COVID became something very actualized here in the States, the things dropped off. We had projects that were of course scheduled, and so those carried through for a couple of weeks. Then we probably went from, I would say percentage-wise, we probably dropped 90% in just phone calls, reaching out, emails, etc. for quotations.
Yeah.
So, and those are always a direct result of sales. And the fact that sales, Tesla as a company, stopped actually shipping cars out. Well, if they can't ship cars out, people can't buy them.
Right.
And if there's nobody in the showroom to buy a car, I don't care how bad you want one, they're not going to sell you one.
I mean, I put in my Model Y order the night of the unveiling at the event and just got it a week ago. And it was made in May. It was made after the restart of the factory. Wow. So, they were, and the thing that was odd to me was they were doing this touchless delivery thing. And I'm like, cool. So, who cares? It's quarantine, whatever. It's literally touchless. Like, what's the problem here?
Right.
And they're like, actually, your car doesn't exist right now. And so you have to wait for the factory to start up. And I'm like,
it's truly touchless. No, it's touchless. No one's touching it. It's not even there.
Well, yeah, exactly. Right. It doesn't exist. Can't touch it if it's not there.
And your experience with the Model Y so far, you got it, the anticipation. You dropped a dime, literally a physical, actual dime, and then some the day it was released. You got the car.
Yeah.
Have you owned other Teslas?
Absolutely. I've owned them all.
Okay. So you've got
except
these.
the original Roadster. I don't have one of those.
Okay, got it. Good luck finding
Which
one.
I'm gonna get one for sure.
Are you?
Well, one of these days, I got to get. Yeah, I've got big plans, but one day I'll have one.
Are you in line for the I guess the new generation Roadster when it comes out?
I've got 2 of them on order.
Nice. So has the Model Y met the expectations that you personally had?
I think it's a tremendous car, and people are going to love it. The reason we got it, kind of twofold. One, it's a better family vehicle. As I mentioned, I've got 2 kids, so for us, it's just a better, more functional utility vehicle.
100%. Versus what?
Versus the Model 3.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So currently in my driveway, we have the Model X, the Model Y, and the Model 3.
Okay, got it.
And I had the Model S prior to the Model X. So
okay.
Anyways, so we've had them all, but the Model 3 I loved. If I was a younger single version of myself, that would be my car for sure. If I couldn't afford an S, if I could, I'd go with the Model S. But the Model Y was essentially the Model 3, but bigger and more functional, right? You have the hatchback with the power lift gate. The seats fold entirely flat. The actual back seat, and the fact that the back seat reclines. I mean, I'm not a big guy. I'm 5'11" and 3/4, but it is with the full glass panel roof and the seats reclining. I feel like I'm one of those like extra legroom seats, first class on a plane. It's really, really big in the back seat, which is great, especially with 2 kids and one of them being rear facing still, so meaning the car seat is kind of massive. Plus my wife, she does interior design stuff and is always building furniture and hauling stuff, and so the Model 3 with the tiny little trunk opening, despite it being a I would say decent sized trunk, or kind of somewhat normal, it just sucked. You couldn't fit furniture in it whatsoever. So this, I think, on all of those angles, the Model Y solves all the issues we had as a family with the Model 3. That being said, there are a number of issues with the car that I'm actually working with Tesla right now to get resolved. So we've got fit and finish issues, things not aligning, things not closing, panel gaps, et cetera, et cetera. So it seems the stuff that Tesla was plagued with the early Model 3s, it continues even well into, and everyone I think had hoped that Tesla would have learned from all that. But maybe they have internally, like I don't know if the motor and those things are better, but with the fit and finish, it's still not great, I would say. And for the price you're paying, that is a disappointment. So kind of mixed, I guess, is how I would describe my feeling on it.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, because from people that clients of ours that we do a lot of work for, that they own. One guy for fun said, "Yeah, I bought the Tesla and the Bentley in the same day." He goes, "I bought one because it got 6 miles to the gallon, but I bought the other one to offset my guilt." So you have right, and so these people have. It's not a rare, not all of them, but it's not rare for them to have anywhere from 10 to 15 cars in their garages, subterranean. But the reason I bring that up is that's their biggest argument. In fact, I rarely have an owner who gets rid of their car. They keep it. It's a second or third or 12th car. But I did have one client who said I didn't like it. He goes, "Yeah, and I didn't like it because its fit and finish didn't match that of my Rolls Royce." And I thought, well, aren't those a hand-built car? $250,000 and yada yada. And it's a different platform. I think people need to realize that Tesla is they're a technology company, right? And yes, they're making a vehicle, but again, it's to be I guess judged on its own merits. Yes, there's a fit and finish problem. Yes, this needs to be dealt with, but it's not meant. Its goal wasn't necessarily, at least if I'm understanding.
It's not a Ferrari.
It's not. It's not.
Yeah.
It's
not. See, if I bought a Ferrari and spent $500,000 on it, that thing better be damn near perfect, right? Like I'm not going to accept anything less, and I'm not even qualified. Like I work with these guys here in San Diego called Elite Finish, and they work on all my cars. Every time I bring them a car, I'm like, "Oh, this thing's great." They come in and they're like, oh, wait, you see this here? Oh, look at this. Oh, okay. And I mean, it's just because it's what they
Yeah,
do,
sure.
right? It's what they do. So I don't even have necessarily the eyes for it, right?
Right.
Like, I'm a musician. I can listen to music and I can
Mm,
think about, and I hear it differently than other people
sure.
because I'm a practitioner. So the same is true for people that are real car guys or real like detailers or things that people that really, really work on high end automobiles.
Hmm.
So for me, I'm like, oh, it's great. And they're like, oh, no. So
Mm,
yeah, I would say if you hold it against its own, yeah, not against a Rolls Royce or a Ferrari or something insane like that, but let's say just like an Acura or something, maybe in
hmm.
that kind of like, not, a cheap Toyota Camry, but like, not a Rolls Royce. Yeah, I don't know how it stacks up. Like, I've not, and again, it's funny because like we used to have an Acura crossover SUV. I never even thought to look at panel gaps and stuff. But
Mm,
because for me, because I film and I make a bunch of videos with these cars,
yeah.
well, I see that stuff, right? I get there and I do this slow-mo panning shot and I'm like, God, look at that. It's off. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so things like that, because there's so much attention to detail from
Hmm.
the consumer side, I think maybe it's just, it's more noticed. I don't know if it's better or worse, actually. Like I don't, I would have to go get a bunch of other cars and just see, okay, let's just see how these Beamers hold up, see how these other ones hold up. I'm sure there's issues in every automaker, but Tesla has been notorious for this, and my Model Y is not much different.
They were touting when the Model 3 came out, it's a sub 40K car, right? And then with all the extras and yada yada. And of course, every manufacturer has their loss leader car. You could buy
Yeah,
your Acura Integra for 15.5, and the rest of them are 26.5
yeah.
back in the 80s. But when it comes to the Model Y, is there kind of an average price, average battery? What are people going to be shelling out for the Model Y?
Yeah, so I bought the and when you buy one of the early ones, it's always the more expensive ones, okay? So
Hmm.
my price out the door, taxes, fees, everything, like all in
Uh-huh.
was just north of 68,000.
Okay.
So it's not a cheap car. Now the base, when you look at the spec sheet, the purchase agreement, the base price for the Model Y was 41,000. So
Okay.
I have to assume I
Yeah.
have to assume that that is what will be their kind of standard edition.
Okay.
Um, and then on top, so then it's like, 12 grand for the all-wheel drive long-range battery. Okay.
Hmm.
Then I have full self-driving enabled. So that's another 7 grand. So, it all adds up, but I believe the base one will be 41
Okay.
according to what I see on my sheet. But Tesla notoriously changes prices all the time. So,
Hmm.
in 5 years from now, it'll probably be, below 40, I would guess.
And they're still on the whole, like a CarMax, I guess, right? Like, this is our price, take it or leave it. I don't care what
Correct.
I don't care if you're coming in with a stack of green bills. That's our price.
Yep.
Let's not even talk about it. They're still on that same
You
MO.
do it all online. I mean, we're, extremely fortunate to be in a place where we could actually pay cash for this.
Hmm.
So, like we literally, they say, okay, your car's ready. Here's delivery or whatever. Go finish all the stuff. So I have to upload my insurance, and then I have to figure out payment. So I do a bank transfer on their website. And so when I arrive, there's nothing to do.
Yeah.
Like it's literally, hey, your car's over there. Some DMV paperwork is in there. You and your wife sign it, and then bring it back up here, and then you're good to go. Let us know if you have any questions. Um, so it's just a much different process, right? Yeah, there's no negotiating on anything. It's like buying an iPhone or something. You don't really like negotiate with Apple, right? It's just that's the price.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Be glad they're in stock right
I
now.
mean, the way to do it, if you did want to get, kind of a deal, is to buy used, to buy
Mm.
third party if you can, if you find a good one there. I mean, that's where a lot of it, like even showroom models, often they'll have like what they call new inventory. If you go on the
Hmm.
website, there's like custom order or new inventory. New inventory means it was like a showroom model. It was like literally just sitting in the showroom. But now that that's technically not new, they're going to, drop the price by 5 or 10 grand. So those are where I think people can actually get a deal. And you're still getting a new car. I mean, it's, maybe like mine came with 13 miles on it. I'm sure this one has, 40 miles on it, whatever. It's
Big
still
deal.
a,
Wow.
a new car. But, yeah, otherwise there's no deals to be had anywhere.
They say on a regular car, right, it drops X percentage when you drive it off a lot. I'll call it 25. I don't know, 20%.
Yeah, somewhere there.
And do EVs or Tesla in particular. So yeah, you buy it because again, a 2017, 2018, 2020, these are all the same body styles. You're not getting a new body style per se for the
Right.
S and the X. So you might as well buy a 2017 or whatever the case may be. And if that is true, and if you do buy a car that's a year old, are you number one, what are the risks associated with it? Or have there been any that you've seen? Or B, have you seen a great depreciation where, hey, you know what? Yeah, because that's what daddy and mommy always taught you, right? Growing up. Hey,
Yeah.
don't buy the brand new car, buy the 1-year-old car. Yeah, okay, throw air freshener and then it says new car smell. But other than that, come
Yeah.
on.
No, 100%. So I mean, I'm in that boat right now, right? So like I've said, this is our fourth Tesla we've owned.
Mm-hmm.
The first one we bought used, and so Tesla has a unique thing. So I will say this though, as someone that's now bought and sold a few of these, depreciation totally the same as every other car. It's
Yeah.
not better or worse. Like my Model 3, for example, it's a 2018, has 22,000 miles on it. It's had all this amazing work done to it. It's just immaculate. Everything about it is just perfect, and I'm seeing about a 50% price reduction than what I paid for it.
Wow, that is significant.
In 2 years, yeah.
20,000 miles is nothing.
And I'm telling you, the car is in perfect shape.
Okay.
And here's the deal:
Is it for sale right now?
yeah, it is. It is.
There you go,
Tesla
people.
will update things from a tech standpoint at what seem are arbitrary times. So
Mhm.
unlike Honda or somebody that says, "Oh, here's the new 2020 model. By the way, it has new taillights." Same
Mhm.
car, new taillights, but you got to have those new taillights. They're the best taillights. It's just going to make your life. You're going to be a happy person. I know you're miserable now. After you get these taillights, you're going to be happy. Go
Mhm.
buy the new model. Tesla doesn't do it like that. They'll just update it mid, month in, March or something,
Mhm.
and you may have ordered your car months ago, and it turns out literally you pick it up, and the next day the next guy picking it up, his is newer and yours is now obsolete, and it takes an even further depreciation hit. I mean, those aren't as big of a deal when the technology shifts aren't like leaps forward. So my Model S I bought was I bought it in 2016. It was a 2013. It had 10,000 miles on it. This was someone in Orange County, probably, that it was one of their 12 cars. They drove it on the weekend and let their kids drive it, and it had no miles. It was basically brand new. It was originally, I think, at 85,000 sticker, and I bought it for 50.
Oh my gosh.
Um, and the deal was
Deal.
that they introduced autopilot from the time this was made. The next year, they introduced autopilot, and it could not be retrofit. So now, even though your car is still like objectively an amazing vehicle in every possible way, because it can't be the latest and greatest tech thing, it just drops in value tremendously.
Okay.
So that's what happens with Tesla. So like a lot of Model 3 owners are like, oh yeah, it's great, blah, blah, blah. And then boom, something happens, comes out, and now it's just garbage. No one wants it.
Mhm.
So it's weird. Like a regular car depreciates because you can, like on a somewhat normal curve, because you can somewhat predict when new things are going to happen.
Every
Right?
4 years, a
BMW.
new style comes out.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know what their production cycle is going to
Mhm.
be like, or their development cycle is going to be like. Tesla, you don't. So it's like, oh, everything's great. Look at how great this car holds at value. Yeah, call me tomorrow, and it's a different story.
Right.
Um, so yeah, so depreciation's a real thing. I wouldn't really say it's better or worse. I would say it's kind of normal. But yeah, clearly they depreciate like that. And then in terms of like what the differences are, yeah, like I said, it's a little hardware differences that as a normal person you would never know or care about.
Mhm.
But as a hardcore enthusiast, you would like be freaked out by, things like Autopilot 1 versus Autopilot 2. MCU 1, which is the media control unit, the center screen and all that, versus MCU 2. Because you know what, on MCU 2 you can watch YouTube in your car. On MCU 1 you can't. Your phone still works, but you can't watch it on the car. So you may as well just scrap that thing. It's garbage. So that's kind of the problem, is that they don't have a regular production or development cycle, so the depreciation and stuff is not smooth. It's like there's like step changes
Right.
that happen. So it's really hard to time if you were thinking of that way. But I would say I would highly recommend. I mean, the only reason we bought the Model Y, I mean, not the only reason, but two main reasons. One, because we need it for our family. The Model 3 was getting, pretty bad in terms of functionality for us. And then because of what I do for a living.
Hmm.
Like honestly, if I didn't make videos and this car was going to add a lot of value and I was going to help a lot of people and share all these stories and help people decide, I would definitely not buy it new. I would wait.
Hmm.
And that's typically what I do for all my cars, because it's just a better financial move. I mean, buying a car is generally the worst financial thing you can do. So buying a new car is like, like Elon would say, it's like stupidity squared.
Yeah.
So if you can like avoid doing that, definitely avoid doing it,
It's true. It is truly an emotionally driven one. That is, what's
Yeah.
that whole thing they say? The dad always said it was, people spend money they don't have to impress people who don't care. Yada yada yada. And it's
That's
very
great.
very true. Oh, it's spend
Yeah.
money you don't have to impress people who don't care. Yeah, oh, what's the last line? Will hit me later, but I'll think about it on the way home. Anyway, listen, I want to say thank you so much, Ben, for carving out time out of your life, out of your schedule, and what you do to really just have a conversation about these things. And reach out to us anytime. Okay.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.